let's talk about guns in America. It's one of the most widely misrepresented conversations in our country. If I have to hear Robert Francis O'Rourke, the fake Hispanic from El Paso, first and foremost, he wants universal gun confiscation. And the one thing that bothers me the most, and he's not the only one that has said this, Hillary Clinton has said this, they've said there's 44,000 gun deaths in this country, or 38,000. Okay, let's just add some context to all this. First of all, we're the only country in the world that counts death with a gun by suicide as a gun death. Okay, that accounts for anywhere between 68 to 70% of all of that number. So that number decreases really, really quick. It goes to about 8,000 gun deaths. That's still a lot, but let's add more context to it. About 700 of those 8,000 are accidental gun discharges, so people that aren't taking care of their weapons. So that's a human error that could happen with a lawnmower or a car. It's not just inherent in a gun or a firearm. Okay, that number decreases dramatically even from there. 80% of that final number are gang-related deaths in urban cities with handguns. So what is causing urban-related deaths? What is causing those things in inner cities? Is it because of the guns? Well, I come from a city, Chicago, with the strictest gun laws in the country, where you can't privately own a firearm. You know how many gun stores there are in Chicago? 0, not one. Yet everyone still finds a way to find a gun. And people say, oh, well, it's Indiana's problem. The guns are pouring in from Indiana. Well, why doesn't Indiana have a gun problem then? Indiana has the loose gun laws, and they have lower crime and safer neighborhoods. Yet it's Chicago that has the problem. But a couple reasons. First, they are trying to address a deep cultural problem with universal gun confiscation against people that have never done anything wrong. So they're trying to target all of you that might own firearms and might want to own firearms to protect yourself against, people coming into your house. Or for young women should be the most angry about the gun debate in this country, because it's you that should have the firearms to protect yourselves. A gun is a great equalizer. The left tries to stir up all this hysteria about how men are the worst things in the world and that how they are being sexual predators against women. The statistics around that are very misleading, but let's pretend that they're correct. Well, wouldn't they want women to be armed then? Wouldn't they want women to be able to have the weapons to be able to defend themselves against any sort of person that wants to wish them harm? And then finally, if you look at the kind of gun statistics, what is really causing these issues? So the mass shootings is where they focus a lot of their attention. They're actually statistical outliers. Mass shootings do not count for, it's less than 3 to 5% of all gun deaths in the country are mass shootings. Are they horrific? Yes. Are they excusable? Absolutely not. However, there's a common denominator between people that have done these mass shootings. Typically, they come from schools or they come from school districts where there were many complaints filed and no one did anything. I am going to fight as hard as I possibly can to make sure that our constitutional rights and liberties are not taken away just because you have left-wing gun-grabbing activists that are seeing their opportunity because something bad is happening in our country. We have a fatherlessness problem. We have an over-medicating youth problem. We have an isolation problem. We have a depression problem. We have a nutrition problem. Guns are not part of that entire equation. I own plenty of firearms. They're perfectly fine and they're safe. They're not shooting themselves. It takes a broken individual that comes from a broken family or a broken culture. We as conservatives every day should say, rebuild the American family, put fathers back in their homes. There's a direct correlation also with, how a-religious our society has become over the last 30, 40 years, and the rise in nihilism, depression, suicide, and mass shooting. I believe the further we have gotten away from our Judeo-Christian ethic in our country, the closer we get towards this sort of societal chaos that this is incomprehensible. Yet the left, they've always been for gun confiscation. They were for gun confiscation before the tragedies and after the tragedies. That's the only thing they have in common. We have to be for real concrete solutions like rebuilding the family and putting fathers back in the home.